What is going on, everybody? We are back once again with another edition of Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast. It is Sunday, April 14th. Fresh off Collision, fresh off Battle of the Belts, UFC 300. Great weekend for combat sports. Stoked to be here as always. And I've got one of my best buddies, favorite co-hosts in the building. It is not Tuesday night. It's not Taco Tuesday, but the Tuesday Night Delight is here on a Sunday afternoon. Shout out the DMV. How are you, Shotty? Get those twos up.
Throwing the twos up, man. I am on a show that I am hardly ever on, which is pretty cool. We here to talk about AEW Collision, which was a pretty fun episode. There was a lot of great wrestling, and I'm excited to talk about it. And all the colliders out there, man, stand up, man. Throw your twos up while you're at it too. Watch NXT, but more importantly, watch the NXT post show. That's all.
Off the air, absolutely. Check that out Tuesday nights. That's me, Shad and Drizzy, always. We got a ton of comments over on Instagram already. We've got no, it's not from Hank Jagger. We've got maybe related to Mick. I don't know. Shout out the Rolling Stones. But we've got LP999. He goes, yeah, but I watched the replays. Respect. These are mostly about our first topic. And David Modge is over here on YouTube in the comments as well. He's got his twos up. Of course.
My boy David was good, man.
The man. I love it. We've also got
whoa. Well, Clark stepped away for a quick second. I don't know what happened over
that
there.
was the weirdest thing ever. I was scrolling up and it went back. We're back. Tech issue. Sorry. Totally my fault. Either way, we will get into all your comments.
That was
totally.
an all-timer.
Let's start with our first topic, though, Shotty. We've got.
Yeah.
Does AEW Collision feel like must watch still? You want me to go first here? Because I think
start it off, Clark.
Probably not.
Mm-hmm.
No, like must watch. No. Do I still? For example, this morning, you and I both watched UFC 300 last night. No doubt about it, right? I'm a golfer myself. I've been watching the Masters all weekend.
I watched that yesterday too.
Delightful to wake up early this morning, throw on Collision, watch some wrestling, and get caught up on that Sunday morning. I think this is a time slot issue more than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, Saturday night wrestling is such an iconic time slot.
Mm-hmm.
Such an iconic time slot. I have some nostalgia there too. Shad, I gotta get your thoughts on it. Where do you sit? Is it must watch still or no?
I think your point is kind of where I'm at with it too. I don't think there's anything wrong with the pro. So it's kind of like a loaded question in a sense, right? If you're asking me if the product is must watch television, I'd say yeah. I think it's pretty good weekly television. I think they have their own identity where the focus is on great in-ring matches, the bread and butter of what AEW does. You get an opportunity to showcase more talent. We'll talk about that later on within when we break down the show. And it's additional day of wrestling. As a wrestling fan, why would I complain about that, right? Like more, especially with AEW, which is one of the big like two wrestling promotions that we have there with them in the WWE. Like I'm not gonna complain about it. But to your point, a lot of it is just the time slot. Do I watch Collision every Saturday night? No, I don't. I have other things I do Saturday night. You know, and it's hard to watch live wrestling every single day of the week. So for that point, it is difficult. But like you were mentioning, this is a different era of being able to watch stuff. You can DVR, record it, catch the playback, watch it Sunday morning. Watch it Monday morning, whatever it may be. You don't have to catch it there live, but it becomes an issue of viewership. People want to debate the viewership and whatnot, and a lot of that gets critiqued within what can make it higher viewership. I don't think as good as the product can be, it's gonna make the numbers go super high up. Like that's just not gonna happen. It is not a preferable time slot for weekly television show. So I mean, it if I don't know, like I really don't know how to fix it.
It,
I-
it, it does seem like there's no real solution because I do think the content on Collision is great. Like we got all these comments over here too, and it's more split than I expected, which I really do appreciate.
Mhm.
Hank Jagger said no, obviously, as I mentioned, but then we've also got Martin Dorden over in the comments on Instagram said that Collision and Battle of the Belts are the two best shows of the entire week. Interesting. Then we've got I am Gabe Mendez with no dynamite and then the greater than symbol there. Dynamite's better.
Okay.
And then we also have TL.3118, which said who said I watched them, but the week after on demand. See, that's an interesting part of
Yeah.
this equation too.
Mhm.
Sonny Dalton and Sandy said, "What's up?" as well. He said, "What gets me frustrated is when the PLE on Collision gets thrown under the rug." I don't know. I wouldn't say that the PLE was thrown or pay per view. I guess. By the way, we're over on or AEW here.
Yeah, I'm about to
Pay per
say
view for
confuse me
sure.
for a second.
Yeah, no, that actually threw me for a loop. I'm still not used to PLE myself.
PLE pay-per-view. I get
Um,
what you're saying though.
absolutely. Soul was in the comments earlier, as you mentioned while we're here.
Alert.
But David Modge said it's getting better. So a lot of positivity, maybe even more than I expected on Collision. I enjoyed today's episode or yesterday's
Yeah,
episode, technically.
the thing is this, right? Like the I think fans stress about the viewership numbers more than they need to, and
Yeah.
it's so odd. I don't know where everyone has just become some sort of like business savvy person where they care about metrics and how much money is going and what companies' pockets and whatnot, and flexing like, oh, they're doing more money. That money's not going to you.
Right.
None of the money from WWE or AEW is going to you. Matter of fact, unless you own stocks, of course. I mean that could be a different thing. But there, like, this isn't some sort of like thing as a fan you need to stress about. The things you need to critique is if you enjoy the product or if you don't enjoy the product. And for me, I enjoy the product. I like
Yes.
shows that AEW puts out there. Like Dynamite is definitely my favorite out of the three shows that they have. Rampage is probably my least favorite because it's such a small episode and it's more or less like dark matches, right? It's like main event in a cable spot, but there's not anything like different that they're doing in Collision that makes you feel like, oh, it's just not working and whatnot. Like it's sound wrestling every single week. Like tonight or last night, we saw a lot of good in ring matches that I'm excited to talk about because it's one of those things where, like, as a fan, you got to be happy about it. I mean, you get to see Brian Danielson wrestle. You get to see Claudio wrestle. You get to see Tony Storm wrestle. You get to see the House of Black wrestle. Like, what are we complaining about? Like,
Yeah, it is so true. And it's funny to me too, because the ratings thing, like you think back to the 90s and like classic shout out Eric Bischoff, 83 weeks,
hmm
WCW and WWE. But even at that time, you had to go get the paper or a magazine to see the Nielsen ratings. It wasn't like
hmm
as accessible. And so you were aware of the momentum that WCW was having based on the gate,
the
basically
thing is,
alone.
but to that point also, bro, like that was more of the actual like Monday Night Wars where they were
Right.
literally like competing at each other on the metric purpose, but like their program was going at each other week upon
Yes.
week. This I know that they give shots towards each other, but I don't think WWE is following AEW's numbers. I don't think they care about their numbers. And I don't think AEW is looking at WWE's numbers going down. Matter of fact, I will argue this. I think Tony Khan wants WWE's numbers to rise because he said before, because that also benefits AEW's numbers to
Yes.
rise in the landscape of people watching more professional wrestling.
100%. I'm in agreement. And I think that's the difference between this is as much as the perceived war because of the history is a part of it,
Yeah,
it's never actually been that other than
ah,
Dynamite NXT for a second.
exactly.
And
Yo, that one,
NXT,
that one for sure. You're right about that because
yeah,
they were going against each other on the same
when they were
night.
head to head, yeah, it was a different animal, but that's not the case right now anymore.
Yeah,
It's different, right? I mean, there is no, I mean, there's main event, but it's not Saturday night's main event. They're not going head to head. That's not a
for
thing.
sure.
And ratings wise, if you look at a Saturday show, it's tough to do, but the quality of wrestling is really high,
Very good.
very
Very good
high.
wrestling.
It was awesome. Okay, we should talk about the other one though, Battle of the
Oh
Belts,
yeah. This
real quick.
this is one where my opinion is a little different. I won't
Yeah,
lie to you here.
I got to ask you about that. What is your opinion there?
So the concept of Battle of the Belts when it happened a few years ago, I thought was really, really cool. I thought it was like, okay, we're kind of getting a pay-per-view on television. The essence of the name Battle of the Belts. You'll have a series of champions defending their belts and you can build something to it. I thought it was something that would be really great for AEW, especially off the fact that AEW compared to WWE does less pay-per-views, right? They have fewer pay-per-views, so it gives a good way to build to a pseudo pay-per-view on cable TV on a Saturday night or a Friday night, whatever it may be, and it has some prestige to it. It is so watered down now, man. The matches that happened last night were just random thrown together matches. There wasn't a lot of storytelling to it, minus Athena and Red Velvet, which I thought was the best match last night on Battle of the Belts. And it's just pointless. They don't have a specific like reason or build to when it happens normally, right? It's not like it's not that pay-per-view anymore. It's just, oh, we're having Battle of the Belts, an additional hour of TV program, and we're going to give you these three matches. Like, it's pointless. And I feel that if you're not going to do something that makes it stand out and mean something, then there's no point of really having it. Like, you're better off just adding an extra hour to Collision or whatever it may be, or making a super pack Rampage, which you probably should do because Rampage is needed more because it is a weekly television show, and kind of go upon it from there. Like I don't see a reason for them to do something if there isn't anything built for it.
Yeah, I I, I agree in spades. And we got Sonny Dalton and Sandy with an awesome comment here. He goes, "Fun fact though, the biggest Nielsen rating ever for a wrestling match, and it wasn't on a Monday Night Wars. It was a Saturday night main event, Hogan versus Andre the Giant. That is fascinating. Different era, but really, really cool to add that to the conversation. David Modge said he shut it off after Collision. For me, Battle of the Belts when it first started was really fun because it
Hmm.
was like, oh hey, Rampage happened. I was watching, Dark and Elevation on YouTube for a time, not the whole time, but for a time, and
Yeah.
and you end up over on Collision. It's great. Battle of the Belts immediately following Collision and trying to act like it's almost a different show
On a
doesn't make
bad
sense to me.
weekend to do it too. We talked about that. You had
Yeah,
UFC 300 last night.
we had UFC 300 last night, like head to head, and it's almost. I think the Battle of the Belts branding should be a special third hour of Collision as opposed to a separate. And
Hmm.
that's just like not to like nerdily talk about marketing, but that's just one of those where logic wise the Battle of the Belts brand is not what it once was. Because
No.
what it originally was you get a bonus hour of AEW the day after Rampage.
Hmm.
But it's completely different at this point. It's not the same brand. Now, Sonny Dalton and Sandy had another comment over here where he said, here's my question. Would they do better? Would Collision do better if they were on a different night, maybe Monday? You can't go head to head with Raw. You
And
can't do
Monday
that.
Night Football when that comes up around.
If anything, if they were trying to move Rampage to the hour after Raw ends, I would consider that a smarter decision because I do think the majority of the times I've watched Rampage lately are I watch 2 hours of SmackDown not ready to go to bed.
Yeah.
And then,
Throw
oh,
on
hey,
Rampage.
I can catch Rampage before I hit the hay.
Yeah.
It,
I'm
it,
watching NXT Level Up.
yeah, there you go. That one would fit to me. That one would fit better on Monday Night Post Raw than Collision would going head to head. That to me would be sketchy.
For
Um,
sure. Uh, well, the thing is this: it really depends what they kind of. It depends what the TV, the cable provider really cares about it, right? If
True.
TBS, if Turner is cool with that and they're fine with the numbers, and if their numbers are doing as well as what they need it to be for what they're paying AEW, then there shouldn't be an issue. If the area concern is maintaining, a space on Turner Television and they can't draw anything and they're gonna, possibly let them go, then yeah, that becomes more of a reason. But if I was to make a hunch and a guess, and obviously I know nothing about any of this because I'm not sitting in these meetings with these guys,
Right.
it seems like they're okay because they're giving them extra hours and shows just for that reason because they want them more to it because I think they generate a lot of their viewership for them. I don't think a lot of people watch TBS and TNT unless it's like NBA.
It's so true. It's so true. I mean, we know drama, of course, but over at TNT, that's one of my favorite, like, of the marketing
It's funny.
taglines and all of television. We know drama. It's
Yeah.
just, it gets me every time. David Modge is in the comments. He's on fire. He added that about SmackDown going to 3 hours. Earlier, he said, I think they should make SmackDown 3 hours too because I think that ended way too quick. I don't think so. And then
I don't know about that.
he also said if SmackDown went 3 hours, they would hurt the Rampage rating even more. Yeah,
Without a
no doubt
doubt.
about that though. That's true if they wanted to. He also added 300 was awesome. So I'm gonna take a minute to just say, if you haven't seen Max Holloway and Justin Gaethje, I think it's the best fight I've ever seen. That's
Yeah,
that.
it's up there.
That was if you like pro wrestling and maybe you don't watch MMA but you're a little bit interested, start there.
Yeah, that
Start
that
on the
was a
replay of
that
that
was a
fight.
roller coaster of a match.
Unbelievable. And then the only other moment that I wanted to spotlight that cracked me up was on the prelims. Aljamain Sterling hit a legitimate pile driver in an in an MMA fight.
That joint was sick.
I'll never get over it. That was iconic. He hit a full blown pile driver in a mixed
Yeah.
martial arts fight. That was great. But we will continue to talk about Collision here. Let's talk about the House of Black, who, man, you mentioned it. Brody King never gets old. That guy is underrated as could be.
Mhm.
Underrated as could be. And then you had Action Andrade, Matt Seidel, Dante Martin, top flight adjacent,
Yeah.
right? Like, I guess,
The high fly guys.
yeah, it was definitely a fun match, though. I liked this one. You and I both saw David's review. High marks. High marks.
Yeah.
Did you think this was that good, or what were your thoughts
No,
on this one?
rightfully so. I thought it was a good match. I think that um the Dante Martins, the Action Andretti's, the Matt Seidels, like these guys are in the same like realm as of a Nathan Frazier's and the Axioms and the Ricochets. Like their high flying ability and spots are what makes people ooh and ah for it. But I think the underrated portion of their importance is how well they are as dance partners for other wrestlers and how good they make strong opposing threats like Brody King look in a match, as well as just fighting from underneath, trying to get momentum, but eventually getting squashed like a bug. But I thought it was a fun match. All six guys are great, but House of Black, man, that is a faction that is just printing money, in my opinion. That I don't know when it will hit its stride even more, but I think it should because for the longest time I've just saw Malachi Black coming to AEW and just thinking that he's going to take this company by storm and be the superstar that I know he is, and it hasn't happened just yet. He's been in prominent feuds. He's done great work, but I feel like there's something to happen for him at some point, and I'm excited and I'm waiting for it. But this was a little teaser for us to see what we're gonna have at Dynasty next week for that trios match. We saw a great promo from Mark Briscoe as well. Super excited for it. I think House of Black just as a unit, super dominant. And yeah, man, I said it when we were watching it. Brody King, he's like in that same boat as like Obafemi, just big,
Yeah.
strong, stout, scary. You don't want to
Yeah,
mess with him.
legitimately, and it's interesting too because I feel like in some ways, he's been pushed even more than Malachi.
hmm
And Malachi's the face of the group, but like he's been in some big, big spots.
There's the two people I feel that have been shining the most in House of Black is him and Julia Hart. I
Yeah,
think they are like the low key unsung heroes that just kind of came to light more than we would expect. I think the uh thought process was gonna be like Malachi, Buddy, super great guys that were in WWE, never got an opportunity to show what they're gonna do. They're gonna get to show it in AEW, and it hasn't been that case just yet for both of them. But for those two, I mean, Julia Hart is a champion, superstar,
yeah,
and then Brody King. I mean, we saw what he did in the Continental Classic. Like that's a guy that's just so different and
so good.
unique because how big he is, but how he's like a dancing bear, like just so nimble for his size. Like he's incredible. I'm a big Brody King fan.
He moves like a guy that's way smaller.
Yeah.
And that's like the most impressive thing to me when it comes to is like athletically it's pretty fascinating. Sonny Dalton and Sandy had a really interesting comment over here on Instagram. He said, "What I would do is hire Scott Demore for Collision or Rampage and see how that goes. Maybe a change could be good." I don't actually hate that idea. Are you muted?
Yeah, no, I wouldn't hate that either. I think Scott Demore, if he is a person that has the um ability of wanting to work within the realm in the wrestling world, he would be a great like hire for TK. Like that. I actually like that a lot because I think Scott Demore understands the storytelling aspect of professional wrestling that
Yeah,
AEW is kind of missing. And I think if you plug and play that with the talent that that roster has, and as well as I saw someone tweet this earlier too. I forgot who it was, but Tony Khan needs to get some credit for as a booker because he does book a lot of great matches in regards to that. So I think that would be a good marriage between both of those two if they were to align with each other.
for sure, for sure. I agree. I think that's a match made in heaven in some ways. We got Victoria in the comments. Shout
Thank
out
you,
Victoria.
Victoria.
Thank you so much. And then we've also got
Beautiful.
Michael Vasquez. Nice video. We appreciate you so much for tuning in.
Thank you, Michael.
Stay tuned. Absolutely. We're going to continue talking wrestling here. Speaking of wrestling, though, if you don't know where to find us here at Wrestling Republic, and maybe you like us, maybe you don't, maybe you just want to hate follow us. I don't, it's neither here nor there, but you can find all of our links in one place, and that's over at our good friends, Next Level. Go to nxconnect.me/Western Republic. All of our content across all platforms linked all in one place. They're awesome. Giving away 2 copies also, if you hurry up and enter, of the
Oh,
WrestleMania edition WWE 2K24. The game's awesome. Carter's unfortunately just absolutely scumming me in the new GM mode.
oh no.
This is a big adjustment period. It's been difficult, but either way, one of the best games out there. And if you saw our giveaway from WrestleMania, you know it's legit when it comes to Next Level and the giveaways. It's one of the best things. And Victoria is also in the comments again with love you, Shoddy.
I love you
Oh,
too, my beautiful wife.
absolutely. Congratulations too. Again, I know I can't say it enough. It's I'm a sap. But
Appreciate it.
either way, we do need to move on to a match that I'm excited to talk about. Let's talk Lee Moriarty and Shibata. The rematch. This one's a banger again. And you had a really interesting comment when we were watching this morning about the pacing and the venue. And like,
hmm
I want to get your thoughts on that too here on the show. This was an awesome match, but I think it fit one of those intimate, independent wrestling venues. Like you said, not to take your own words away from you, but like as good as anything, this would have been
yeah,
absolutely electric.
yeah. So I mean, that's the thing, right? These guys are just technical like savants. They are so good on the ground game. Their grappling is A1. They work a pace that is what Shibata has done in New Japan. And you know the difference within the Tokyo Dome and what they do on American arenas that AEW WWE does is it's quiet, it's more intimate. You focus on the wrestlers and you focus on the art of what they do as professional wrestlers, while compared to what we do over here in the States on a Dynamite, on a Raw, whatever it may be, in the arena, you're looking for spot food, you're looking for the high energy, you're looking for cutting edge promos and stuff like that. People's attention spans are very small in the live arena when it comes to a match that's so slower paced and technical. And I think that was the thing that didn't do this match last night, the due diligence. There wasn't a lot of like marquee high spots or big time stuff. There was a lot of hard striking. There was great, like Shibata was beating Lee
Oh,
down with his knees and elbows and whatnot. And there's a lot of great submissions, but they're not going to react to it as much to it because it's such a slower, methodical pace. I would have rather seen it in a smaller setting, or how ROH has it for Honor, having it in the smaller arena,
yeah.
or like even you, I was saying, man, like a PWG or like a GCW, like a blood sport, right? It would have got more appreciated in that type of setting, but it doesn't get that when it's an arena. And my other thing is about this is the fact that I feel like Lee Moriarty is a person that hasn't found a footing in AEW, and I don't know why. Because I remember when he was a free agent, when he was in the independents, this guy was wrestling everybody and he was putting on clinics. I think he's got a sense of charisma to him that's different. He might not be some like super talker guy on the mic, but he's got a sense of charisma. He looks cool. We love his ring gear, right?
So good.
I don't know why he hasn't found his footing in AEW, and I don't know what the Shane Taylor promotion this variation is compared to what it was in the ROH.
Uh,
It feels a
yeah.
lot different now.
Yeah, and with Moriarty specifically, it's like you can see the talent. I do still think it's a matter of time because he's so young. I
Hmm.
think it's just like there was a little bit of a learning curve. There's also a little bit of like traffic at the top of the card at a time where it seemed like you could strike with Moriarty, but it didn't really work out as well as it could. But I don't think his story's quite over for sure. Sonny Dalton Sandy over on Instagram had a really interesting comment. He said, "So is AEW trying to steal the independent / New Japan fans and style?" I wouldn't say steal, but I would say tap into that market
So
for sure.
So you know how everyone says Cody Rhodes throughout this is the Renaissance era. I've always said AEW is kind of the Renaissance in a way because Tony Khan is just a fan and he watches so much different wrestling and he lets them kind of come into his promotion with the backing that they
Yeah,
have. And that's pretty cool to me. It's been like that from the
yeah,
get go. All the
totally.
and they're not shy about it either. He doesn't change their names, change their stories, whatever it may be. He's signing you for who you are. He focuses on signing independent wrestlers for this reason where WWE creates the wrestler, right?
Right.
They sign a NIL person and they help build them or they help mold and build independent young wrestler. It gets different formulas and I don't think it's them stealing it. I think it's just how they are. Like that's just kind of what their promotion is like.
I totally agree, Judd. Yeah, no, spot on there. And our next topic here, we got Tony Storm versus Azumi. And I got to say, dude, Tony
Mm,
Storm, I'm obsessed with the character work. I think it's amazing. It's off the charts. It's Sunset Boulevard meets Marilyn Monroe. I like every single thing about it. It's golden. Where's my close up, Mr. DeMille? Like, it's awesome. Azumi Stardom, I know are much, not that I'm not a fan of Stardom, but
hmm.
much bigger follower of Stardom than I, blew me away in this match. She was
Yeah,
outstanding. This was bell to bell as good of a, I guess it was a title eliminator match technically,
yeah.
but it was as
God,
good of a,
I
as,
hate that
I
concept.
hate the term. I hate the whole concept. It bugs me to death. If the champion is in a fight, they should be defending the belt.
And the
I
title,
I,
agree.
I maintain that. But for me, I was also still super impressed by Azumi. All the follow up after the match. This one was fun, dude. Did you have as much fun as I did?
Oh my goodness, man! I love this match because I am a Joshi Mark. I love that Stardom is doing business with AEW, and I think that Tony Storm and Mariah May are the perfect wrestlers to kind of be the bridge to allow these feuds happen, especially with us going into Forbidden Door in June and them possibly adding Stardom wrestlers into the card. It makes a lot of sense. Azumi is a very talented wrestler and very young too. She's got like the striking, the athleticism, so quick, so fast, short, has a bit of like a Rey Mysterio s to it. Not as much of like doing high flying stuff, but just kind of being like a mouse going from here and there. And I thought her and Tony Storm had a nice little match last night. I think it was a good showcase for Azumi to let the people know that who she is. She looks like she fits on American soil. Like I think her and Mina both have had an opportunity to tie with the whole Tony Storm and Mariah May feuds, but like their presentation is really good over here. The crowd is very receptive of them. If they choose to ever wrestle in the United States and want to do that, I don't think they'd have a problem at all. I think they'd fit just like a glove because there's a essence of just that charisma that they have to it. And a lot of people are, oh, they worry about having to being able to cut promos and English not being their first language. There's so many ways to be charismatic and being a fan favorite without cutting major promos. There's so many ways non-verbally that you can show charisma in the ring with your appearance, your music, all of that. And I think they have that. I'm really loving the whole stuff with Mina, with the whole Club Venus and her Mariah May playing with it in the whole storyline with Tony Storm. It's been really good, and yeah, I'm excited for it, man. I think I said this in the chat with y'all, man. I think Mariah May is low key the best women signing so far for AEW this year, and yes, that's including a Mercedes Monet and a Deanna
Oh,
Purrazzo.
I
Mariah May has done the legwork of that they signed her, and she has absolutely shined like a damn diamond, bro. Like I'm not even. This is not me exaggerating either, bro. Like she's a very underrated signing. It's like when the Eagles signed Hassan Reddick a couple years ago, and he got us 13 sacks, and we did not expect that.
yep.
Like it's a similar thing, man. She's a person that has already become like one of my favorite women's wrestlers. Not saying that
It,
she is better
it's
than Mercedes or Deanna, but I think she's done more being signed so far than they have.
I can see like the parallels almost with the Swerve signing, where you can
Yep.
start to see like, wait a minute, she's about to break out, right? Like he's about to
Hmm.
break out was what it was with, but like I mean her talent level, even just like the excuse me, I'm sorry, the simple fall down when they're like hugging after the match, it's just
It's
like
hilarious. The
it's
the
comedy.
facial the facial expressions in the promo, like you're giving, and this is the thing, like she's got charisma to a T, but her character work in Stardom was completely different than what it is now. She was like the mean girls of like pop, like the princesses in Stardom. Here she's like reminiscent kind of how they do with the Mickey James and Trish Stratus, a little bit to it, but like the obsessed fan of Tony Storm, and it's been so good.
Yes, it's to me it's electric, and it's like, yeah, I was telling you about the movie Sunset Boulevard. There's so many parallels from that, like the creepy guy that Luther's playing. Like it's really good. Brandon James said for real, for sure added, and then also over on Instagram we've got Sonny Dalton and Sandy said the only time AEW's women's wrestling was good was when Britt and Thunder were tearing the house down.
That was peak women's division
It
AEW, but I
was.
I think I honestly think they've gotten better. Now let me say this. I don't people I hope people I don't want no Mercedes fans jumping me. I think Mercedes Monet is the biggest star that they have name
Oh yeah.
wise on their roster that they signed this year. I just think they've, and it's still fresh for that, but like they ever since she signed, there's been more of a focus on doing stuff with the women's division. I think it's slowly getting better.
100%, 100%. Unlike my allergies, by the way, springtime, the worst. I apologize for coughing so much over here, but other comment I've got here from Sonny Dalton and Sandy that I wanted to read, which is I think Julia Hart is one of the best and hardest workers on that roster.
Agreed.
No doubt about that. To go from cheerleader to where she's at now, and not that she wasn't good as a cheerleader before, but this is a complete, change in character and in evolution of her character. It's
There's a
brilliant.
there's a there's a lot of Julia Hart, Willow, Statlander. Like there's a
Oh,
lot of talented women on this roster. Queen Aminata, Athena.
yes. It's more than enough talent to carry, a division. And speaking of, let's talk about Thunder Rosa though.
Oh yeah.
And in that promo, Thunder and Deanna's promos, I love both in the title picture. I love Thunder, one of the most genuine promos I think she's cut in AEW.
Yeah.
Right before
She's so good at that too.
we had a little bit of like forced, I would say, promos out of Thunder.
Mhm.
This one was one of those that you look at and you're like, no, she's being legit. I've got something to prove. I don't want
Mhm.
help. She doesn't want the help. I recovered from all of this injury wise, did all of this, and it's time. And I loved that she called Tony Tonia. Like, she got fired up for real when she did that. That got me so good.
I liked it too.
Deanna's promo and response I thought was excellent as well. But, we were talking about this. Deanna's been a little bit, I think, I don't want to say undervalued by AEW or undervalued in AEW, but it
Mhm.
has felt like one of those ones, a little bit like Keith Lee, where you're like waiting for something bigger to happen.
That's a good
Um,
point.
you know, and so I got to get your thoughts on both promos and then the
Crazy
title
that
picture as
that that
well.
that p- that core that parallel that you just made.
Yeah,
Mariah May, Swerve, Deanna, Keith Lee.
yep,
Very accurate, by the way. I like that. So kudos to you on that. I agree. I don't know what it is just yet. Um, her match quality has not been as high as it was when she was in TNA. I don't know if it's just ring rust, getting used to the pacing and whatnot. And then yeah, just the character work hasn't clicked for me 100%. But I think we're gonna get a little bit of a you know, pivot at this moment. So first and foremost, let me give Miss Thunder Rosa her flowers because to your point, this is where she thrives. She is so real. Her like passion for this sport of professional wrestling is always one that I appreciate. She's a unsung hero for that roster. Her and Britt have one of the best matches in AW history. You gotta know that she's a real OG when it comes to this women's division. And her cutting that promo, basically telling people like, look, I've been out for a while. Y'all forgot. I need to remind you. This isn't for you. This isn't even for the title. This is for me to prove something. And I love that. And I love the fact that it's saying that Deanna, I don't need your help. I handle stuff on my own compared to accomplishments that she's done in life. She's gonna be able to handle this on her own when she goes in the dynasty, hopefully, is what she's saying. So whether that happens or not, we'll have to wait and see. But I think we're gonna get a heel turn from Deanna because this is where Deanna is better. She's a better heel than
yeah.
she is a babyface. So hopefully we get that. And I think Tony Storm probably winning. I'm cool with a Thunder Rosa Deanna feud because that's a feud that doesn't have a title that gives more airtime to talented women.
Yeah, I think it is kind of a funky situation there because you have like what I would say is the most homegrown outside of Dr. Britt Baker AEW women's star that's still on the roster in
Yeah.
Thunder Rosa, right? Like,
Hmm.
and you've got Deanna, who we know about the success elsewhere,
Yeah.
but there's like a
WWE, TNA.
juxtaposition between the two where you have to like look at it and you're like, well, wait a minute, who is the alpha, for lack of a better way to put it, right, of the two in that scenario? I'm excited about the AEW's women's division though and where it's going. Sonny Dalton and Sandy ask, where is Britt? Is she hurt? I'm like, I think she's doing teeth. She's got that job as well.
We miss you, Britt. Come back to TV.
Yeah, like I think
Those
she's
those people can have all the cavities they want.
out there being a dentist essentially.
Stop eating so much candy.
Yeah, like I mean, I think she that to me would make a lot of sense. And, a lot going on. Adam Cole's injury is another deal, right? And, like being married to a guy recovering from such a severe
Yeah,
injury,
that
to
makes
just be
sense.
helpful and be at home and take the time off makes a lot of sense. And I think that's one thing that is unique and cool to AEW, as bothersome as it can be at times. It is, in those ways, it does prove some of like the stuff that Tony Khan has said over time about AEW, really taking care of the talent, right? They
Hmm.
do their best to allow time away. I mean, MJF, I'm very confident is going to be back shortly, right? Like, but given time away, you
Maybe
know,
next Sunday. Who
who
knows?
knows? Maybe next Sunday. But let's talk about our last subject of the day, which was Claudio Castagnoli and Brian Danielson, the Blackpool Combat Club, against Powerhouse Hobbs and
Powerhouse.
Kyle Fletcher. And what
Ooh,
I got to say is,
your favorite wrestler, man. Talk about it.
I don't get Kyle Fletcher.
Uh
He's
huh.
really good bell to bell, and I respect that. But I
Uh huh.
don't get it. I don't get him. Like, the bleached hair was a nice attempt. I always thought Mark Davis was a bigger standout when they were a team. But, like, who is this guy? He's just an
Hmm.
Australian dude that wrestles really good. And
Right.
that is, I'm not trying to like bury him. Kyle Fletcher's cool in certain ways in the ring, but I don't get it. I don't get the, maybe I missed something. Like Aussie Open, I thought was really good, but
Right.
I always saw Mark Davis as like the guy.
I think it's this. I think it's the fact that he's young, and I
Yeah,
think we want to push and create new superstars. And I think it's just the level of the fact that he's as young as he is. He's that good as an in-ring wrestler. But you and me talked about it watching the show. Me and Clark are on. We're like fans
yeah,
that. So there's like two sides of fans, right? There's the people that love like the theatrics, drama, don't even care about watching wrestling matches. They'll skip through that and go to watch backstage segments. And then you got fans that don't care about any of that. They just want to watch people wrestle for the entire time. I'm a middleman. I like
yeah.
the balance, and I think character work is important in professional wrestling because you need to give me a reason to see why I want to watch you. What's your purpose? What do you do? Like there's like I'm not telling him he needs a gimmick, but there needs to be more to him and whatnot. And I agree. I haven't seen anything. I don't really even know how he sounds, to be honest with you, bro. I'm gonna be real
Sincerely,
with you.
not to sound goofy, it's like I kind of want to get to know him better because he puts on
Yeah.
really good matches, but like
Yeah.
I don't
And
understand like what is your motivation? Like what's your scoop, for lack of
mhm.
a better way to put it? Like who are you? Cuz I really do like the matches that I see him in all the time, but he always did feel like the secondary guy on the team before. And then now he feels kind of like the worker of it, and it's like, yeah, Sonny Dalton and Sandy over in the comments here said he just feels out of place, and,
I'm
and
you know the wild
it's
thing is this
true.
in a faction of what four people total. You got Konosuke Takeshita, you got Powerhouse Will Hobbs, and you got Will Osprey. He's the only guy that has a belt,
It's
and he
true.
seems like the fall guy out of
It's
all of them.
weird.
Like it don't make
Yeah,
no sense. He's the only champion,
he's
but
the
he's the
only
fall
champion in the
guy.
group. Like, yeah, David Modge is a big fan. He had a good comment over here, but he did say a bad word, so I can't read the whole thing. But he said he sells great. Made me laugh when he got hurt. He's good. And then he said he laughed when Powerhouse walked away from holding the matting and he
Oh
couldn't
my
slam him on the
god, dog!
concrete and
That
got back
show
body
you
drop.
that
Craziest spot of the match.
That spot was so funny, bro. That
Yes.
man did not want to cooperate with them at all. And
Yes.
he's just like, whatever, man. F it. I'm just gonna do
Yeah.
what I need to do. It was really funny. I think I'm gonna give him time. I mean, we say the same thing about a guy like in Austin Theory, right? Like he's a person that is good bell for bell. He looks like a professional wrestler, but he hasn't done anything for us to connect to as a fan on the character aspect. He might be the same case. My issue is this though. And we talked about it briefly as well. I just don't understand the Don Callis family's faction as a whole. They do just look like a bunch of random guys thrown into the like being managed by Callis. I think there needs to be like I think Callis needs to just manage one person, and that's Konosuke Takeshita,
Okay, in a
or
weird way,
just a
the other solution I was going to say is I think Callis needs to be more actively vocal.
yeah,
Put him on commentary for every Callis family match
right,
and let him, right? Like, there's the two choices. I agree with you. It's either pick one and do like go the Heyman, almost Heyman Brock
yeah.
route,
I
right?
agree. That was the example I was thinking too.
Perfect. Or go whole faction, but have him be always on the mic, always like in commentary every time anybody from the Callis family wrestles. That would, to me, make the most sense solution wise.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, there just has to be like they just gotta feel like a group more. They don't really feel like a group. Like I don't understand it that much. Like it it worked better when it had storylines to it when he was showing the paintings and they had the things leading with the Omega feud with Konosuke. But like now it's just I don't know. It ain't really much happening with it.
It's yeah, there's not much. Although I will say Don Callis gave me one of my favorite pro wrestling moments ever. I was at All Out a couple years ago, and I called him a bad word, and he just looked at me and winked. And it was one of the coldest things of
Yeah.
all time. He's in a pink suit, and I was like, "Okay, that was cold. You're cool by me."
He's good at what he does for sure. It's just I need to see. It's not anything. It's nothing about any of them as individuals. I think all of them are great. It's just together, it ain't working for me.
Absolutely, I hear you. But with that does bring us to the end of the show. It's been a blast on behalf of me and Shoddy. Thank you so much for tuning in. You haven't liked and subscribed, please do check us out every single day, same place, pretty much the same time, other than like one day a week. But it's noon Pacific. That's 3 in the East. That's 8 in the UK. That's 9 in Hawaii. That's, I believe, actually 4 a.m. in Manila. Even though Coach 23 is not here, I've been
Yeah,
trying to
where you
add
at,
that to the
Coach
time list.
23?
But yeah, and then David Modge was laughing at, by the way, the last one. Thank you guys so much always for tuning in. See everybody soon. Check out Off the Air also Tuesday night and talk to everybody ASAP. Have a happy Sunday.